As I first sat down in 2021, casually scrolling down for seasonal anime, I came across a show with an interesting cover. I was new to anime at this time, and the term isekai was being thrown around a lot, so I was curious as to what this show had to offer. Never in my life have I found a piece of media that would leave an impact as big as Mushoku Tensei did for me. It also introduced me to the best waifu in anime history, Eris Greyrat. Watch me rant about this adorable creature for 13 minutes straight. Quick disclaimer, I am giving my insight on Eris as a person who has watched both cores of Season 1, all the episodes of Season 2, and Volumes 1 to 6 of the light novels. I'll be pulling many details on Volumes 1 through 6 of the light novels, so anime onlys beware. Before I begin, what do I mean by the Mushoku Tensei Effect? By this, I mean Rifujin no Maganote. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. The author of Mushoku Tensei's ingenious way of creating profound characters that each are complex and fleshed out in their own way. Not a single character in this story feels out of place or unnecessary. Even characters that can be passed as mob characters you see in the background have motivations and stories to tell. This helps us, as the viewer, truly feel for these characters and be immersed in this living and breathing world. Now, how does the Mushoku Tensei effect apply to our favorite tsundere girl here? Well, to start, there's this checklist that I like to use to signify whether or not a character is a perfect tsundere. I call it the infinity stones of a tsundere. Does she express her love for you by playfully punching you? Does it take much time before she starts warming up to you?
さっきのは嘘よ。もう大声は出さないわ。わかった？ルーデウスはすごいのよ。ちょっとだけって言ったじゃない。そこは。
Does she capture your soul with painfully cute reactions or mannerisms?
エリスに魔術を教えてくださいにゃん。お揃いね。
Does she have a hard time saying what's on her mind or her true feelings? Does she do things that leave you utterly speechless? Does she love you unconditionally for seemingly no reason and make you her entire unquestionable reality? Well, not really. At least not at first. I don't think that Eris's character amounts to your average tsundere. No, she is more than that, and that's why we love her. Usually the general trope of a tsundere found in countless anime out there treats the story's protagonist poorly for no reason. However, they seem to treat everyone else around them relatively well. After the protagonist does one or two basic things, the tsundere proceeds to fall hard for the protagonist while still denying their feelings. This is what genuinely defines a tsundere. Don't get me wrong, I love a typical tsundere as much as the next person. However, Eris is different. Her whole character trait of being selfish and arrogant stemmed from her environment. Her loud and violent grandfather Saurus, who commands and leads the entire household and the Vitoa region, was a driving factor in shaping her personality. To make matters worse, Eris being the only granddaughter Saurus had access to led to Eris being spoiled to no end. With Saurus being the supreme leader of the household, no one can object to how he treats his granddaughter. It is no surprise how Eris ended up the way she is. She was brought up in a sheltered and spoiled environment, and as a result of this, she never really cared for the duties a noble's life came with. It's not that she only treats our protagonist Rudius poorly, it's that she treats everyone poorly. So as far as she was concerned, this light brown-haired tutor that was younger and shorter than her was another unworthy stranger unfit for teaching her. Eris did not like Rudius at all, and getting her to listen would take some heavy-handed measures. Even then, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Her character traits were built long before she met Rudius, and it's impossible to change a person's mind overnight. However, As the dazzling light of Rudius' fireball captured her mind, her curiosity for magic began to blossom. Through this began Rudius' difficult years of teaching Eris and Ghislaine reading, writing, arithmetic, and magic. Not that Eris cared about anything other than magic and swordplay at first. Her unabated curiosity for learning things she enjoyed fueled her. Eris is a hard worker for the things she is genuinely passionate about, and despite her arrogance, she looks up to people who are masters of the craft. Ghislaine in swordplay, Rudius with his clever methods of presenting and using magic, and Sarus with his fierce but commanding demeanor. Surrounded by practical geniuses, her rate of growth rapidly accelerated. But it also planted a seed of insecurity she would carry throughout her youth with Rudius. The more skills she acquired, the bigger these role models of hers appeared to be. Aside from Ghislaine, she learned to respect and admire Rudius' ability to seemingly do anything. No matter what she did, right or wrong, Rudius would always have an answer for her problems. He never lashed out at Eris' selfish behaviors and was always patient with her. But over time, her respect and admiration became a fondness for Rudius. She did not hesitate to brag about his amazingness to anyone she could. This character change resulted in her refusing to allow anyone to look down on Rudius, because to her, no one can shine as brightly as Rudius. The fondness Eris had for Rudius developed into something much more special. Unfortunately, the anime did not cover the perspective of Eris I will describe. But during the night of Rudius' 10th birthday party, Eris was awoken by her mother. Her mother dressed her up and told her to go to Rudius' room and surrender herself to him. But the moment Rudius started getting ahead of himself, a thought popped into her head. Maybe he doesn't actually love me. She recalled seeing her father and Rudius staying up late, so she assumed her father told him about the situation and permitted Rudius to have his way with her. As all these thoughts circulated in her head, she decided that she wasn't okay with this anymore. End quote. Shoved him away. As she slammed the door, heading back for her room, she got scared. She thought that she just made a grave mistake. Rudius was the only person who put up with her antics, so she thought she would never find someone with as much backbone as Rudius ever again. She genuinely felt that Rudius was the only one for her. When she returned to his room, she was surprised to see Rudius prostrating himself. In response, she promised to try the scenario again after 5 years. This is when Eris fell in love with Rudius. Her over-reliance on him and the people she idolized snowballed, and the fragile frame she subconsciously hid behind began to break at the start of the mana teleportation incident. Tossed into unfamiliar land in the middle of nowhere, far away from home, and meeting a scary green-haired man, she felt as if she was being punished for all her selfish behaviors. With Ghislaine and her family gone, the only person that came to her rescue was Rudius. Eris' attachment to Rudius and her journey in Dead End was a turning point in her life. Her growth was visible during multiple instances of her travels with Dead End. She doesn't lash out as often as she did back then. In the light novels, one of her main reasons for doing so was so that she would not be a nuisance to the party. However, the notion of her holding back does not only extend to that, as we see her exhibiting patience during her little fight with Minotona in the Doldia village. The old Eris would have ensured that she repaid what had been done to her in tenfold, especially by someone objectively weaker than her. However, she did hold back, and even accepted Minotona's apology. It is bizarre to me that saying someone accepted an apology is an amazing thing, but it is for Eris. I believe she picked up this trait from Rudius, because Rudius knows how to be patient with Eris when he tutored her. This idea of Eris being influenced by Rudius is a common theme. During their journey, Rudius never seemed to falter, even though he was younger than her. Even when Eris could see Rudius hiding his anxiety not to worry her, he always figured something out. Whether it was when he talked things out with Superd, dealt with demon folk, or even listened to her at times of vulnerability, he seemed steadfast and strong. So strong that Eris felt like she was being left behind. Her motivation to improve herself as a swordswoman from then on stemmed from her desperation not to be a burden for Rudius. She felt that in her current state, she hindered the progress of their journey. Thus, we see her train vigorously and diligently, working to improve herself daily. We progressively see her get stronger. The light novel stated that she trained with Ruijerd much more than what the anime led on. But the results were still there. And a year into their journey, she believed she wouldn't be a hindrance anymore. She could finally walk beside Rudius. Well, we know how that went. A crushing defeat at the hands of Rudius in a straight-up sparring match with no magic. To Eris, it felt like cheating. Rudius overtook her in one clean sweep on a road that she had been walking on for years. Rudius shone brighter than ever, and Eris felt it pointless to try catching up to him. From then on, no matter what efforts Eris put into proving her worth, it felt paltry compared to what Rudius was capable of. From his quick rebound after the severe depression that overtook him from his fight with Paul, and him managing to befriend the third prince Zanoba and save Lilian Aisha, Rudius was truly amazing. Her time spent with Rudius and Ruijerd gave her a false sense of security. She thought she didn't need to worry about anything. As long as she was with Rudius, she would be safe, and he could take care of everything for her. This feeling would all crumble when she witnessed Rudius die before her eyes. She was powerless to do anything. And even then, Rudius stood up against the dragon god Orsted, unafraid, and managed to brainstorm countermeasures should they ever find themselves in a situation like that again. Rudius appeared to be godlike. Eris did not want to let go of him because she feared he would disappear if she did. The final nail in the coffin of Eris's breaking point was finding out that nothing was left for her when she arrived home. Her family and house were gone. Soon, she feared that Rudius would leave her too. At this point, he had finished a contract to tutor her, which had been 5 years long, took her safely home, and still had to search for his remaining missing family members. She was sure Rudius was going to leave her. In desperation, she seduced Rudius with her body to keep him with her. But during their sweet time in bed, she came to a realization that I believe encapsulates what the Mushoku Tensei Effect does for its characters. Throughout her time with Rudius, she always knew he was younger than her. He was smaller than her. But the pedestal she put Rudius on was so high that she never even noticed. Despite being this way, Rudius never failed to protect Eris. She regretted forcing herself on him due to her selfish desires. She looked back on all the time she had spent with Rudius and all the people she had met along the way. She made a firm decision not to stay the way she is now. She is striving to become a better, stronger person. From the time she was a spoiled, arrogant, and self-centered little girl, she matured into someone who can identify and accept their flaws and take action to change. And I respect her for that. The old Eris could not even comprehend the idea of changing herself. It is not easy to change yourself or accept your weaknesses, but it's when you do that you will start to see a real change. This is what the Mushoku Tensei Effect does to its characters. Characters are not dull or unremarkable. Each of them feels multidimensional and complex. Their determination and drive that pushes them to do the things they do are meaningful. Eris Greyrat isn't your run-of-the-mill tsundere. She is her own person. If you made it this far in the video, I have nothing else to say but thank you. This is my first video and I was torn about what to upload, but I felt like a Mushoku Tensei Eris video was fitting. I'm not sure where I'll take this channel, but I'll do my best. I also have a Twitter and a playlist of all the anime songs I've listened to. Go check it out.